Good afternoon. The Landmarks Commission is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of May 27th, 2021. My name is Cindy Tucker, and I'm the chair of the Landmarks Commission. Mr. Brett Ragsdale serves as the executive secretary of the commission. Mr. Ragsdale, may I get a roll call?
Chair. Ms. Doss?
Present.
Ms. Cox?
Present.
Ms. Love?
Present.
Ms. Payne?
Present.
Mr. Warren?
Present.
Mr. Gill?
Here.
Here. Thank you. The Memphis Landmarks Commission and the local historic district provisions are established to ensure preservation of structures that are of historic value to Memphis. Our function is to preserve significant resources, enhance community pride, and offer and foster civic beauty and ensure compatibility within design historic districts. The Commission is authorized to review projects and determine their appropriateness based on the design review guidelines. At this time, I would like to swear in the staff. You may remain seated. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Okay. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from the last month's meeting? Need somebody to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay. I need a second.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. Mr. Secretary, please provide us a secretary's report if there is one this month, and then explain the procedure for this meeting.
Madam Chair, there is no secretary's report, so I will just go into the procedure for the meeting.
Okay.
The procedure for this meeting will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. For each case, staff with the Division of Planning and Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, the commission will hear first from those speakers in support of the application, then from those speakers in opposition to the application. The speakers will have 3 minutes each. And then finally, the applicant will have 3 minutes to provide a rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to members of the commission. The chairwoman may provide additional time, provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the commission will be sworn in by the chairwoman. We have a number of speakers who informed the staff prior to the meeting about their wish to provide statements during this meeting, and we will hear testimonies from those who have joined our telephonic meeting today. I will call on each speaker when it is their turn to deliver their statement. All parties have been heard. After all parties have been heard, the commission will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. All motions made by this commission will be made in the affirmative. The bylaws governing the commission require the affirmative vote of a majority of attending members to approve an application. The commission may also vote to hold an application for a period of 1 month. Madam Chair, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order. All applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, we will approve the consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite approval of those cases where there is agreement among all parties over the recommendations and conditions placed by staff. All cases placed on the consent agenda will be voted on by the commission as a group. As the consent agenda is established during the beginning of the meeting, the secretary will ask if any member of the commission would like to move any case to the regular agenda. If so, that case will be ineligible to be placed on the consent agenda. Also ineligible to be placed on the consent agenda are those cases where staff has made a recommendation of rejection, in those cases on behalf of which there are opposition speakers. Mr. Secretary, do you put? Okay.
Yes, I'll list the 2 items that we have that are eligible for consent, unless a commissioner would like to pull these to be heard, are items number 7, COA 2021-063, 1595 Netherwood Avenue, and item number 8, COA 2021-067, 1769 Overton Park Avenue, Evergreen Historic District.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as established by the Secretary?
I submit a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Could I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. I'd like to remind the commission that by voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. Mr. Secretary, may I get a roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Fox?
Here.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
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 Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes. What's the matter? Okay, thank you. Mr. Secretary, at this point, I would like to state that the minor COA applications as listed on the agenda have been reviewed and approved by the Commission. The Commission will now continue with the regular hearing of the major COA applications as listed on the agenda. Mr. Secretary, call the first case of the regular agenda.
Yes, Madam Chair, I did want to remind anyone that was on the call for item number 7 or 8 that was approved, and you're welcome to stay on or on the consent agenda, but it has been approved. You don't need to stay on the call.
Okay, thank you.
And our first item is item number 2, COA 2021-048, 386 South Main Street Historic District.
Okay, is the applicant present?
John Halford is on the line.
Okay.
John.
Mr., can you hear me, Mr., is it Halford?
Halford.
Halford?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Am I asking him to state his name? Will we be able to hear it?
He should be unmuted.
Hello? Okay. Can we tell?
He is still muted, right?
Okay. Hey, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, you guys. This is John Halford. Yep. I'm unmuted.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, John Halford, PKM Architects, 676 Marshall Avenue, Suite 101.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to read the staff report?
Yes, I have.
Do you agree with the staff report and its conditions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone want to see the staff report?
Yeah, I would like this.
Okay. This is the appropriate time, is it not? Okay. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, Chairwoman and Commissioners. My name is Lucas Skinner. I'm staff planner with the Division of Planning and Development. Before you, we have COA 2021-048, again at 386 and 390 South Main Street in the South Main Street Historic District. The request is new construction for a mixed-use, multi-story structure that will have retail on the first floor with apartments above. Again, applicant is 386 South Main, and the designer and architects are PKM Architects. Here, we'll start off with a street view. This is looking east. This is the existing on the ground. I'm sure some of you have probably seen this before. So the existing two-story structure, that's 390 that you're looking straight ahead at, and then the new structure will be to the left in this picture where that empty space is. Here's a view from the back on Mulberry Street. This is looking west. So again, this is the back of the existing two-story structure, and the new structure will fill in where that current parking lot is right now. Here's just sort of a general site plan to show you. Again, 390 is the shorter building here towards the bottom of the screen. Then 386 will be the new structure right above it. Here we have the proposed front elevation from Main Street. As you can see, it's predominantly brick on the bottom two floors with a similar entrance off the street as the structures around. There are some new windows above, and then metal going above with balconies to the apartments, which are on floors 3, 4, and 5 there, as you can see. Here's more of a block elevation. just to show how the new structure will tie in with the rest of the surrounding buildings. Here's another elevation just to kind of give a perspective of height, of what it will look like. And then to get into whether the project meets the design guidelines, overall staff found this project to meet most of the guidelines. I can get into them in specifics if anyone would like, but overall the one main thing was definitely just the height of the structure in relation to the South Main District. Calls for generally 2-story structures, 3 stories occasionally can be allowed. The 5 stories is obviously a little bit above the threshold for the South Main District. Everything else seemed to meet predominantly the bulk of the guidelines. So staff is recommending approval with one condition, just that any change or deviation to be submitted to the Memphis Landmarks Commission. That's the end of my presentation. I'm around for any questions.
Okay, thanks. Do the commissioners have any questions?
This is Commissioner Warren with apologies for my absence at the last month's meeting. Actually, 2 months. Can staff tell me the history of this project? Has it been before us formally? Was it ever held?
Yeah.
They did come before, and we caught them fairly, actually this brings up a great point. We caught them fairly quickly because they needed to go to the Board of Adjustment to get the density approved, and that was officially approved at yesterday's Board of Adjustment meeting.
And I'll comment too. When we first saw it, it was decidedly different than this, and it was very overwhelming, very overwhelming for that block. They cited, you know, some of the other buildings down there, the hotels and some of them, but they're not even close really in proximity. It would have dwarfed the smaller buildings around it and kind of changed the whole feel for that block. So they've been through our design, what, twice or once?
Once, and this is the design review board for the Downtown Commission, which go back there after it's receives whatever.
So they decided, there were a lot of suggestions, like textural changes to pay, you know, to give a nod to the other buildings that were around it, to back it off a little bit from the front of it, at least stagger it back, because it was a lot more overwhelming than it is even now.
Okay. And
what did they actually, I know they changed a lot, but they did not change, did they shave the height? They changed a little bit of the height because was the parapet, well, whatever at the top was a lot higher, wasn't it? There was something.
They did bring it down, and I know Mr. Halford and I think Mr. Denolf are on the line as well. They can probably more specifically explain those changes, but yeah, I do believe they brought down the parapet a little bit.
I'd like to go back and see, is there anything that shows it better in relation to that whole block than very much, and keeping in mind the small building next to it is part of the development, right?
Correct.
The small building to the south.
Yes, the one in this picture if you're looking at the picture to the right.
That one to the right. How far, is that stepped back, the brown part, or is it flush with the top of the second story?
I'll respond to this. Yeah, this is John Halford. The metal portion is flush with the face of the brick. It's a material change there at the height of 390, which is the small building we're referencing to the south. And the idea there, you know, contextually, which I think is obvious from the image, is that in terms of the massing or the proportions of the building, is that we're keeping in line with that low-rise brick structure that's consistent with a number of these buildings on South Main. And then above that, going to the darker, lighter metal finish above. It will still be a sleek finish. Also, metal is very durable. We looked at other options, including hardy board, cement fiber board siding, and felt that was not desirable finish on a Main Street facade. In terms of the structure, the wood framing, there's not a whole lot with the density of this building, which again we do believe is in line with the Memphis 3.0. But we felt that yeah, please.
Madam Chair, this sounds like it maybe a lot of this stuff might be covered in his presentation.
Okay.
So if we might want to just let him do that presentation.
Okay, that's fine. How about?
Unless there are any other questions.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead? We asked him to do his presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mr. Howard?
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah.
You want to start from you want to start your presentation, or was that the start of it?
Yes, yeah, no, yeah, of course, we can jump right into this. So this is just a site map showing the area. So number one, and highlighted in blue, is the location at 390 and 386, with 386 being the northern lot. We're noting a number of businesses around, including their uses: restaurant, shopping, museum, hotels, etc. This is a amenity core, as we all know, on the South Main Mall or historic district to the greater downtown. This is a site survey highlighting 386 to the north of 390. Go to the next one. And photos of the existing building. Again, 390 with the vacant lot adjacent and to the north. So in this project, we'll be removing the stairs that encroach on 386 and building immediately adjacent to 390 and adjacent to 384, the property to the north. These are additional photos taken from the back of 390. You see the metal infill to the back of 390. 390 is a little bit taller on the back side. This is Mulberry because it slopes down roughly 10 feet from Main Street. This is the before axonometric. So you see 390 to the south, the empty lot focused in the center. So the existing conditions in the next slide shows the proposed conditions with 390 and the adjacent properties. You can go to the next. So in this view, what we were trying to do is capture, you see number 10 highlighted in blue, that's 386. This property, within the greater context of downtown, I mean, obviously we have quite a number of tall buildings as you get down to the walkable part of Main Street, the Main Street Mall, and then down to the south with the number one, we have the train station, and then we've highlighted a number of other buildings here as well that are at or above the height of the proposed building. But I think this shot is good in that it's communicating there's kind of a tapestry of heights and building types throughout the greater kind of Memphis downtown that I think this image shows well. So, all right, yeah. So we're looking at a number of precedents, and these in particular are material precedents for this project. So the top left is a material precedent for the black metal siding that we're proposing for this project. The top middle image is more of a massing and scale precedent for this project, and in particular, you see these windows with the black frame as well as the black base accentuating the height of the windows. To the top right, balconies, very minimal, but allowing views and exterior space inside of these apartments. We are looking to, the owner is looking to lease out at market rate. And so it's important for them to amenitize these units in whatever way possible, which is of course a challenge on a tight site with only 30 units. The bottom left is showing a black metal siding adjacent to brick. And so we thought this was a good project just juxtaposing those two materials. In the evenings, and we have done some views and renderings. I'm not sure, Lucas, if those are available in this presentation or not. But the idea is in the evenings, this dark metal really starts to go away, and the lights on the south main, kind of, the south main corridor in this, lower portion, or the first like two stories in this case, become the focal point and become the area of activity with these apartments.
You have about 30 seconds remaining.
Sure. With these apartments kind of receding from view. So these last two images, brick and metal siding, on the bottom right, showing material precedents, and we can flip through these next couple of images, more material precedents, imagery showing what we see in the views. So the both before, and then finally we'll end with this rendering of the proposed condition, where you see all these materials in one place.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Do the commissioners have any questions for the presenter?
I'll just make a comment. I was going to just comment how much I like, and I think I made this in the technical review. I like how modern it is, and I think this building's pretty close to the south of this building. They're of equal height. I think that these renderings are kind of making it look like an island, but I like how modern it looks, and I like the density on that side of Main Street.
Right. I mean, I agree with some of the materials. The only thing they've helped the scale a little bit because it was so overwhelming at first, and it was just massive to that other area that is still in a bank of short, buildings. The tallest of which is the one at the corner. But the real tall buildings like Chiska, the two hotels, are a significant distance away from that. And that's all so the one that we don't see is the vacant lot. And then the one, and I don't know how high that is, do you? The one on, is it 5 stories?
I'm not sure, but maybe the applicant may know.
The one on the end that somebody bought a long time ago and they're redoing, it's on the corner?
Yeah. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll find that for you, and I can jump in here in just a second because we do have that document.
And it is on a corner too, which makes a big difference. It dictates the whole corner. But so that's all I've got.
Yeah. Well, and Madam Chair, we don't have anyone on the call in support, but we do have a person on the call for opposition, so we can call on them now.
Okay. Are they finished with asking the questions? Do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Aaron.
Hey, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please state your name and address for the record.
Aaron Dimas, DIMAS, 384 South Main, number 2.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Can proceed.
Okay.
How long
reviewing the, how long do I have?
3 minutes.
3. Gotcha. Okay. Reviewing the staff report, I saw some inconsistencies. Page 8 indicates brick on bottom, the 2 floors. This is incorrect. If you actually look at the north view and all the other elevations besides the front of the building, they use cement fiberboard and block 8x16 block. This is not consistent with traditional materials used in the actual neighborhood. So that front brick there, you see that's the only brick used in the building. You won't find a building with an eyesight that doesn't use brick. Going on to, I would definitely say that's not a balance of old to do. Mass and scale, new construction should appear similar in mass and scale. That's, we already discussing that's nowhere near. There's only 2 buildings taller than 3 stories in the historic district, one of them being Grand Central Hotel and the other one being Arrive Hotel. So it's going to shoot up over the buildings, but what everyone does not get from these renderings is that the building to the left of this slide you see here, 384 South Bain, it's a residential condos. That building only goes halfway back in the lot. So what you're going to create is a cement fiberboard, no metal at all, and viewable from Mulberry Street, very viewable, a public street, of 78 foot of straight wall straight up. It's massive. It's even more massive compared to these actual two-story buildings. You're not getting that from the north view. I challenge the board to look at the north elevation closely and the north elevation materials used, which do not incorporate any brick, veneer brick, to say the least. And the staff quotes that three-story building, anything less than what a 5 stories is would not be economically feasible, although the author gives no factual cost explanation or analysis whatsoever. A property was recently approved by the MLC at infill construction at 529 South Main for 1-story infill, and that was not an issue for their proposal. The district guidelines were well established, and the owner was aware of neighborhood guidelines prior to purchase. I asked the commission to uphold the neighborhood guidelines in relation to mass and scale and materials over developer profits. Only 2 other structures, non-infill, are taller than 3 stories in the district. And the height analysis.
You have about 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. Height analysis that was on the previous slide incorporates buildings not in the historic district as well. That the vast majority of those buildings are not in the historic district or the guidelines of the neighborhood. That's all I have. Please take a look. I ask once again, you take a look at the other elevations from public streets such as Mulberry, the North View, and the impact to 384 South Main with a 78-foot wall that doesn't incorporate brick and only cement block and cement fiberboard. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions of the speaker? Do we have a picture of what he's talking about from the Mulberry? It's not a pain.
Are you able to pull up the drawings, E1, E2, E3, and E4, the building elevations? They're
Oh, I don't have those.
they're in our handout, but they're a little hard to read,
Yeah.
the annotations. Brett, can you remind us if we want to discuss the project as a body, we need a motion. But we have, I guess the applicant currently has an opportunity. Right now we have questions for the speaker, if there are any.
Yes. Yes. So if you have any questions for Mr. Dennis, you can ask those. And this directly relates to his comment, but you can also hold that until you have discussion. So we do have a 3-minute rebuttal from the applicant once you're through with the asking questions, and then we'll close the public hearing and there can be discussion about any things that you want to talk.
So are there any questions from the board? Okay. So 3 minutes.
3 minutes from.
We have a rebuttal. Is there a rebuttal?
I mean, we can respond to just a few comments. Now, I don't have those listed in front of me, so I'll do my best to respond. We do have elevations north, south, east, and west, including those Mulberry elevations. To the north, we're showing CMU block, burnished block CMU going up to, and I can pull it up. Sorry, I'm looking at our drawings, and I know these have been delivered, so excuse me. All right, so yeah, about 26 feet. And then above that, we have cement panel siding, or similar to like a hardy board siding that we're familiar with. In this rendering, you can see that on the south facade, where we've got balconies above 390. There was a mention of brick going above that 30-foot line, because of the construction type, which is what we've referenced in the past, the wood frame construction type, just the brick bearing and the weight of the brick on that on those wood studs has been structurally an issue. It's not something that is allowable based on code. In order to build brick above that 30-foot mark, we would need to go to steel construction, which is why we referenced that being not feasible for this project. In terms of windows and glazing on the north side, we are actually showing 8 windows to the north side. Those windows all are required by code to have fire shutters, and are very expensive windows that could be completely eliminated if the property to the north ever became built out to a taller height. And so we've been directed by code to minimize the number of openings and in fact have 0 openings on that facade. And we actually got a variance or an allowance from Shelby County Code Enforcement to be able to have some windows on that facade and actually pushed for more. We are working with this adjacent property owner to the best of our ability, and will continue to address any issues, especially during the construction as well. I know there was a request for a hose bib out to Maine that we are working on, as well as relocating some utilities that are mounted to the existing wall.
15 seconds.
Okay, perfect. Existing wall at 386, and so we'll continue to work through those, as well as answering questions that they asked of us during this process. And then finally, I would say that the height restrictions by right for this area is 90 feet, and so we do fall within that. And again, believe that we're in line with the goals set forth in the Memphis 3.0. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll now close the public hearing portion of this case, and the commission will further discuss it. May I please have a motion?
Sure. For the purposes of discussion, I move to approve case 2021-048.
May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion?
I was looking, I know there's a building across from Spaghetti Warehouse, a 415. It's a little ways away from that and off of Main Street, but it does, and I don't know if that's relevant if it's not on Main Street, but it's 415 South Main technically, but it faces Spaghetti Warehouse, and it has the same kind of mixed
on the corner? The one on the corner?
The loft.
Yeah.
On the corner, they have the same kind of mixed material. So I don't know if I would really be as concerned about the materials as I would. I'm with you, the height does seem a little incongruent. I don't think it's terrible, but it's a little incongruent with the block itself.
Mm-hmm. Joyce? I mean, I agree. He did better. He pulled it down a little bit from the top, but I'm still, I mean, I walk it and I'm down there a lot. And I've walked it since then just specifically and driven it. You know, and I know pretty much every building in that area. And that's my feeling as well.
Has a setback been proposed of that second section?
We had said something about that at the first time I think we met, and they said that it was to do with the size and the density or whatever. But yes, I agree with the setback of the taller area to the other keeps it storefront properties, and we had suggested that they set it back a hair.
I think I remember that conversation. It was more so, I believe, driven by the floor plan and the fact that if they did set it back by anything, it would actually end up cutting into or actually about 3 of the units that were along that storefront, and pretty much every single unit was crucial to them being able to make this project work.
So the height and the ceiling right up against the street are 2 of the things that from the get-go we had discussed.
Yeah. And I don't think it looks bad. I mean, for the record, I don't think it looks bad at all. It just is a little incongruent. I think it looks good, but it's a little.
And I will say too that the years that I've been down here and noticed the metals and the things those applicated things, and I'm not a builder, I'm not an architect. I did live with one for 21 years, but they tend to get dented, they tend to come apart. I mean, there's some issues with those, even that one you're talking about. If you drive through it, it's a fairly new one, and there's some issues on the side with that as well, but that's not my problem on that. But I'm just saying, ain't nothing like brick.
I think my thoughts on just thinking about the height. I know right now it definitely does seem to be a little out of context. However, as was stated out, that this area allows up to 90 feet. It's historically been allowed to have that kind of a height, and who's to say that in the future this will not become at least part of as they said, that urban texture, that urban fabric. The context will actually just flow right in with what's going on with downtown. I mean, the growth of downtown has always been that. It purposefully moves further and further out. So if we're trying to stymie any kind of growth beyond what is the downtown core, then sure, maybe this isn't the best idea. But if we're, as we said, following along with the Memphis 3.0 of building up for our city, this is not a bad, I mean, considering y'all saw the previous design, it did not try to pull in the context of the buildings around it. In this case, they've changed I believe they changed the color of the brick itself just to help it highlight just that there's this base that is pulling in its surrounding buildings. And then the use of the material above, I understand the idea of the dark metals kind of allows it to recede a little bit from your context. I believe it's more acceptable or even more apparent in the nighttime than the daytime, but
it does. Because of the light.
Exactly. But it looks, overall, if you're going to play with height and just almost looking into the future where the possibilities could be something very similar, this is a good start.
And I think I mean, they did pull it down a little bit. But the one thing that still bothers me a smidge is that smack up against that second story not being recessed just enough to make it feel like, to make those other buildings be able to breathe a little bit. That's just the way I feel on that one.
I agree with a lot of your comments about the density. I mean, if you think about it, we're a relatively low density town. We have the most options. We have the ability to have our highest densities in our downtown area and our CBD. And these are 2-story buildings. Somebody's going to have to make the jump to start increase the densities along Main Street, in my opinion. And there couldn't be a more appropriate place than Main Street to do that. So I think somebody's going to take the leap. I think it's going to stick out for a while, but I hope that this leads to other buildings jumping to these heights. You can't beat Main Street for density in a downtown.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think if we had, with all due respect to the adjacent property owner or resident who made excellent points about the multi-faceted nature of this project, it has 2 fronts, et cetera. And with all due respect to the neighbors, I think if we could, how shall I say, if we could suspend concerns and snap our fingers and fill the block with 3 projects that were 4 stories and 5 stories and 6 stories, I think it would be wonderful, right? That's what a regionally significant city is supposed to have, a nationally significant city is supposed to have on its main street. And so it is tricky, right? It's duck, duck, goose, and it's a goose this year and next year, maybe for 5 years or 10 years. But it's tastefully done. It's elegant in many ways. It's constrained by development costs, construction costs, limited of materials. I mean, when people write negative comments, say, "Oh, it's another one of those." Well, I'm an architect, and this is hard. Like, there are not, the list of materials that this building could be won't even fill up my right hand. You know, it's less than 5. And so it appears to be a quality building. I'm not fully aware of all the evolution of it, having missed a meeting or 2, but I think it's a good project, or even a great project. I really appreciate the presentation too. It was very thoughtful, and the graphics, the context. It's as good as we've seen from my experience on this body. It's a fantastic presentation in terms of here are the challenges, here's the context. Yes, we know it's big. Let us tell you about other large buildings. So with that, I mean, I support the project.
Can I ask for clarification? What allows 90 feet? Because the guidelines say 3 stories.
So the zoning of the, like when you're just looking at the zoning atlas, the South Main zoning district allows for 8 stories or 90 feet. And then when you apply, so like parts of like Front Street are in the, okay. Yeah. So when you just apply the historic district overlay, then that's when you get the context of the 3 stories.
Okay. So, I mean, to me, that means 3 stories is the max allowed for this. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying, I like this project too, and I'm thrilled with how far it's come, and I think it's such a fabulous mix of historic and modern design. It's really thoughtful and it's come a long way. But I do, you know, we're talking about increasing the height significantly on this block now, talking about 5 and 10 years from now, but the guidelines specifically say 3 stories for this entire section. So I think we should be careful with that, considering the guidelines are specific.
Well, how is the guideline worded? I mean, it's not quoted in the staff report, and with apologies, I didn't bring my copy, but.
And while you're looking.
Actually, the staff report does reference a 3-story threshold. So, you know, but we know this routine is it should be, must be, shall be.
I mean, I love modern architecture. I mean, in contemporary, I mean, you know, I grew up with it. I live in one that the interior is, you know, the first loft basically in downtown. And it still looks like it did when it was done in 75 because of the feel of it, because of the design of it that is simple, but it keeps forever, you know. And I mean, and I do like this. It's just the still of it is that I don't mind it, the height quite as much as I did before. But my issue still is the massiveness against the front, against the front of the building, in proportion to the other.
Right.
So that's my big issue with it is, you know, 10 feet back, you know, the bottom people can use, you know, that's my issue with it. So, and I think it's a nice, I mean, they've come back. We couldn't see a lot on the first presentation, and they've come back and given us a very nice visual of the others, because
I think it's significant that, I mean, this is a big project, yeah, and on a important street, and those are so obvious it's dumb to say them out loud, but I think it's significant that there's only one letter of opposition. And I thank that individual for their point, again, like I said. But it's interesting to me that, I mean, this has been on an agenda with the DMC. This didn't just come out of the shadows. So I think that's telling, you know.
So did you find did anybody find the rules?
Oh, well, I thought you had.
No, I don't have it, but.
No, you said that it did, the staff report does reference.
It mentions the word threshold, but, you know, and again, I don't know that I don't think it will affect my vote, but.
Well, I mean, I know if we're adding to other items in the staff report where it talks about mass and scale, it does say historically most buildings were 1, 2, and 3 stories in height, and then below that, the bullet point says new buildings should reflect the range.
Yeah.
So.
What was approved, Lucas, at BOA yesterday? Was it the height?
It was for density.
Okay, so it was for the 30 units.
Correct.
Okay, because you have a threshold on units per acre.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any motions out there?
Any other? Okay.
I have one final comment. I guess it's directed at the applicant. So, this is pushing the boundaries of what people are comfortable with, obviously. So, I'm just going to read the approval condition that staff made. The condition reads, any changes or deviation from the COA shall be submitted to MLC for review. I know this is a money-driven project, but there's not a lot of wiggle room here. And I just want to make sure the applicant takes that to heart, and you know, developers can be persuasive, especially when they pay us architects. And so I think there's a ratio of masonry and paneling and siding and windows. I think we need, you know, we're approving what's been presented today, and that's it. So any changes need to come back to staff. That doesn't mean they end up as a major, but they come back to staff.
Yeah.
Okay. Are y'all, okay, call for a vote?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Ms. Love?
Yes.
Ms. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Okay. You call the next.
Yes, ma'am. Chair, the next case is item number 3, COA 2021-055, 1677 Beard Place, Evergreen Historic District. And we are hearing this case today because we did recommend rejection and we have a speaker in opposition.
Okay, thank you. Is the person online?
Yes. This is Alicia Barber. Oh, cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Can you state your name again, ma'am?
Name and address? Could you state your name and address?
My name is Patrick Christopher Greer, 1677 Beard Place.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Well, are we asking for the staff? Have they had a chance? Okay, have you had a chance to look at the staff report?
I have.
Do you agree with the staff report and its conditions?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. And we have an opposition as well?
Yes.
Okay, does the commissioner want to hear the staff report?
Yeah.
Yes?
And we do hear.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Aisha Tazar with the Division of Planning and Development. Item before you is a request for site improvements for a circular driveway using the existing curb cuts. Subject property is in Evergreen Historic District. It's directly north of Poplar Avenue, behind the Taco Bell. This Google Street View shows the current conditions of the property. The existing curb cut is on the left, leading to the side of the structure, and the other existing curb cut is right behind the street light. This is the proposed site plan showing the configuration of the circular driveway. It's about 12 feet between the existing curb cuts and the circular driveway. The circle part of the driveway
is to be 12 feet in width. Based on the evergreen design guidelines, proposed circular driveway is not compatible with the environment of the existing buildings on this block of Beard Place. And the staff recommends rejection of this application. However, if the commission considers approval, we recommend 3 conditions as stated in the staff report, page 7. This concludes my staff presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions for staff? Okay. The applicant has 5 minutes to present their case. Do they understand?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
I believe there was also an addendum filed with this. I do not know if, I hope everyone has a copy of that. If you can see on the left, that top picture there, that is the state of the house when it was purchased. And you can see today, the picture on the right is what the property looks like after we've done some work in the front yard. We've had to remove a lot of overgrown bushes, things like that, and working to improve the property. And we wanted to just talk a little bit about the staff report and their notion that circular driveway really wouldn't fit the environment of our existing street and the existing buildings. So if you look through this addendum, you can see different, the next 9 pictures show different streets on our block. I think if you go back up in the presentation, one more page, please. Those bottom pictures are different driveways and houses in our block. And you can see that really no 2 house looks the same. And we feel like that's one of the things that is very nice about the Evergreen Historic District. That's why we're a nice, cozy neighborhood versus a subdivision where every house looks the same. There are houses with no driveways and just fences to the road. There are houses with driveways. So our block is very unique and distinctive, and we like that. And it feels like it gives it character. But we also want to talk about the parking and some of the issues that we have on this particular street. There are several rental properties, and this causes a challenge because instead of having a few cars per house, you generally have 1 car per room in these rental properties. So this generally leads to parking on the street. If you can scroll back up, please, in the presentation. If you look at those top 3 pictures, that's a view of our street on an average work day after school is not in session, because a lot of the rental students are rented to college students. A lot of rental houses are rented to college students. You can see the cars. And at night, this gets much busier. It is very frequent that you have cars parked on either side of the street, like you can see on that right picture. This actually makes it difficult even getting in and out of existing driveways at times. It also makes it very difficult for delivery drivers. There's no place to turn around because this is a dead-end street. The garbage and waste management and recycling have to back down our street so they can collect trash and then be able to exit. And we have not had this issue, but there's also a concern that with the parking on the street, that emergency services will have difficulty getting up and down the street. By adding the driveway proposal that we have, at least our side of the street would be clearer and make it much easier for access in and out of the neighborhood. I would like to say that we received letters of recommendation from our neighbors. One I know was included. One showed up. We got them on Tuesday. The other 2 we got on Tuesday. They weren't in time to make it in the staff report, but Mr. Ragsdale does have a copy of them if you would like to see them. Like you know that we did a lot of thought and research about options to extend this driveway. And we looked at other properties in the Evergreen Historic District. We looked at the options of widening the existing driveway. And the one we came up with, it seemed to me the most feasible, and it added the least concrete of all the options. The staff report recommends that we look at using the alley access. You can see the bottom pictures here on the page that are up. That is the picture of our alley. Ours in particular is not well maintained, and part of it is used as part of the Taco Bell drive-through and their parking lot. So it's actually a traffic alley. So
here's the letter.
One other issue in the staff report is they mentioned like McLean and then no other driveways are approved. If you go down one more page in the report, please, or in the addendum, you can see these are existing circular driveways in the Evergreen Historic District. Even McLean, that is mentioned in the stand as a rejection, has a circular driveway at 333 North McLean. But if you look at the 1677 Lawrence, just to give an example, that is one block north of our street. It's almost the exact same house as ours, just one street north. It has a half circular driveway, much like we are proposing. And we are hoping that you can look at this and go, the spirit of the Evergreen Historic District, that this does fit in with the character of the neighborhood. We feel like this will help
Mr.
alleviate
Ricky,
the parking.
30 seconds.
Thank you. We feel like this would help add character to the, keep with the existing character of the Evergreen Historic District. And I'd like to thank you for considering a proposal for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Madam Chair, we have Mr. Don Jones on the phone in opposition.
Opposition, yes.
Mr. Jones, are you on?
Yes, Mr. Wright.
Okay. Could you state your name and address?
I'd like to. Thank you, Chair Lady Tucker. I am John Donald Jones with 1763 Peach Avenue, 38112, representing the Evergreen Historic District Association.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You can continue. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady Tucker and members of the Commission. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. In terms of full disclosure, you see on the screen, and Brett announced me as Don Jones. Until October of 2019, I was a member of the Office of Planning and Development staff, although I've never presented or written a staff report for the Memphis Landmarks Commission. It's never a pleasure to come before a commission in opposition to the efforts of your neighbors. I read the letter of support that was in the staff report, and this is exactly the kind of neighbor that we're glad to have in Evergreen, one that looks after their property, and appreciate them coming through the front door with this request, because so many times we deal, as most associations do, with things that happen, and then we have to appeal to a board, and we're one step behind. So we really appreciate the efforts of these neighbors. Unfortunately, we do not agree with their remedy. We base our opposition on 1 point technical and 1 point practical. The technical side of it is this just is not consistent with our design guidelines. We do not think it's in character with the other properties on this street. There are no other circular driveways on Beard Place. Beard Place, as was mentioned, is a residential street that runs plus or minus 400 feet west of Evergreen and where it terminates. While the alley explained is in rough condition in some places, it needs some attention and should be able to provide a second point of ingress and egress. This is a mid-block location, not a corner lot, and in no way comparable to what's going on McLean, which is a major street which takes a high amount of traffic. However, even on McLean and more recently on Hawthorne, we did oppose efforts for front yard parking, which is our greatest concern here. That while I understand their efforts, we believe that this will result in continuous front yard parking. And this is something that the Evergreen Historic District Association has opposed consistently to your sister board, the Board of Adjustment. I thank you again for the time. I thank the staff for their help and assistance on this project, and I'll await any questions that you might have for me. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have questions for the speaker? Okay, the applicant has 3 minutes for rebuttal, if he chooses to.
Yes, thank you. So I'd like to just address the kind of what Mr. Jones brought up with the alley again. Our alley in particular, again, is shared. The part of our alley is shared with the Taco Bell parking lot and drive-through. So people traverse that alley to get into Taco Bell. Using it as a driveway would be very difficult given parts of traffic that come in and out of that section of it. The other contention point we have is there are utility poles along our property against that alley that would make using it for ingress or egress untenable, we believe. We do feel like while there are no circular driveways on our street, again, if you look at something like Lawrence, 1 Street North, it is a dead-end street, exactly like ours in terms of road traffic, and there are driveways there. And we feel like that is representative of the Evergreen Historic District overall. And we do value this neighborhood. We want to keep the character of this neighborhood as much as we can. That's why we chose to move here, and that's why we want to make this our long-term home. We are looking for long-term investments here, and are just trying to make sure it's something that can function for a modern family. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any questions for the speaker? Okay. I'll now close the public hearing portion of this case, and the commission will further discuss it. May I please have a motion, if there's needed?
I make a motion to approve COA 2021-055 with conditions as stated by, but we in the affirmative, right?
It's affirmative. Yeah, it has to be affirmative.
With conditions as stated by staff.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Real briefly, I find some of the examples that have been cited to be inappropriate comparisons, and I believe the opposition speaker pointed that out. I'm intimately familiar with this Overton Park house, and there's 2 of them presented, but growing up, my best friend lived in one of them. I've spent hundreds of hours there. But these houses are long, linear, large houses. They're sort of craftsman, almost prairie style. They're really nothing like the house presented by the applicant, and I think staff, OPD staff, current staff, is completely correct to recommend rejection. Unfortunately, it's not take no pleasure in this, but ultimately this is it's billed as a circular driveway, but it will become a parking spot in the yard, and it would set a terrible precedent in my estimation.
And I to back up your point, I was wondering as we looked at the other examples, is this what we always talk about? Is that a case of asking for forgiveness later for some of those? Did they just kind of do it and it slid under the radar for some of the homes?
Not the 2 larger houses on Overton Park, because those are corner or end lots, but certainly the other examples, it's a great point. I look at those photos and think that they were either done before the district or done without permission, because they're not pleasant to look at with cars sitting there in the front yard. So it's a problem that is not unique to Evergreen or this property. It's all over the city. It's happening in East Memphis and everywhere else. People are paving sections of their front yard, and it's not a good thing.
No.
And it looks so small. It's tight.
Yeah.
The driveway itself.
Yeah. And then how do you, are you encroaching on somebody else's property? Because it seems like to make it work, you'd have to use their driveway. It just
I think that's the biggest thing, and the site constraints don't allow this to really work. And I'm gonna be one to fess up to. I've got a circle driveway in front of my house before. I have in the Valentine Evergreen district before the rules were implemented, and it was due to the fact of a shared driveway. It was protection, and we know that there are those extenuating circumstances where if you're living in that kind of condition, perhaps this is the best solution. However, this does not feel like the best solution in this particular case.
Any other comments? Okay. So do we redo that affirmative or call for a vote? Okay.
And if you are voting yes, then you're voting to approve it, and no.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, you ready for roll call? Ms. Doss?
No.
Ms. Cox?
no.
Mr. Warren?
No.
Ms. Payne?
No.
Ms. Love?
No.
Mr. Gill?
No.
Chair Tucker?
No.
Motion fails. Our next case is COA 2021-059, 1251 Baxton Avenue in the Speedway Terrace Historic District. And we're hearing this today. The applicant has requested to discuss some of the conditions, and so we will, if you want to have the presentation, but we can move on from here.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes,
online?
I'm here.
Okay, could you state your name and address?
I'm Jocelyn Henderson. My address is 655 Jefferson Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee, 38105. But
Okay,
I
thank
own
you.
Okay.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. And you've had a chance to read the report. Do you agree with the staff conditions?
I agree with everything except for the one condition where they want me to take the bump out of the window seat in the front. That's the only condition I don't agree with it.
Okay. Would you like to speak, or do we need to show them?
Well, if the commission would like to hear a presentation.
Report, staff report, commissioners?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Case before, I'm Seth Thomas, Division Planning Development. So the case for us is COA 21059 at 1251 Baxton Avenue in the Speedway Terrace Historic District. The request is a new construction of a single-family home. So here's the Google Street View. It's just one block or one house away from the corner. The house on the corner is a duplex, a brick duplex. Here's the site plan of the house. And so I guess the one condition is about that bay window bump out that you can see there on the front elevation of the home. The rear elevation with the left side elevation as well. And then this is the floor plan that sort of shows how the bump out will be, or that bay window bump out is going to be part of the master bedroom. At least that's the contested condition. And really the only thing that staff partially agrees with is the driveway needs to be extended to 36 feet long to accommodate for the Unified Development Code requirements that say there has to be room for 2 vehicles in the parking lot, as the original site plan only showed room for 1 vehicle. And so staff's recommending approval of new construction of a 1.5-story single-family home in accordance with the district guidelines with the following conditions. So the driveway must be extended to 36 feet, allowing for 2 parking spots. We would like a replacement of the bay window on the left side of the front elevation to sort of replace it with a regular window as also shown on that front side elevation on the right side. We'd also like the eaves to be connected above the bay window and then have hardy board siding added to the gable face on the left side is similar with the rear elevation of the home. And then the foundation walls around the house should be 24 inches in height measured from grade. And the top row of brick on those should be full header row to differentiate from the body of the exterior walls with the foundation. And then obviously 6, any change or deviation from the approved certificate of appropriateness shall be submitted to Memphis Landmarks for review and approval. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Does the commissioners have any question of staff?
Sure. It's Commissioner Warren. Since it was brought up, can staff speak to condition number 2 and thinking behind that particular condition?
Yeah, so I mean, really, I think there isn't any bay windows with that bump out in Speedway Terrace, nor on that block face. And so we think the design sort of right now is pretty suburban, which, you know, in the Speedway Terrace Historic District, it allows for some deviation from the traditionally historic homes there, but we feel like that particular bump out is kind of a bridge too far, which is, you know, the reasoning for condition number 2.
How bumped out is it?
I believe the applicant says it's supposed to be a window seat. I want to say, hold on, let me.
Maybe 18 inches.
Yeah,
not a lot.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
You good?
Good.
Okay. At this time that I believe the applicant has requested to have a presentation. Is it Ms. Bottenfield?
Ms. Henderson.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Henderson?
Okay. Yes, I'm not really asking to present anything. I mean, most of the houses in the historic district have built-ins. And so I was just trying to include a built-in in the front. And it's actually not a suburban house. I just wanted it all in brick. It had siding, and I switched it to brick because I thought that brick would look better in the neighborhood. But the original house had all siding, so it's actually sort of like a Craftsman, but I just really want to keep the window seat on the inside, especially due to most houses in the area having some type of built-in. And that's it.
Okay. Do the commissioners have any questions of the presenter? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll close the public hearing, and the commissioners can discuss if they need to. Can I have a motion in the positive?
For the purposes of discussion, I move to approve COA 2021-059.
Can I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Discussion?
My understanding of where all these changes came from, was thinking back on the design review meeting a couple weeks ago, is that there was a request to break up the top of the gable with a material change. And so that's where the hardy board siding comes in the gable. And then in order to create the break there to connect the eaves across, I'm looking at this other application showing the house that we were just looking at. It's kind of a good example of a Queen Anne cottage with a similar layout that this is kind of a play off of, but most of those homes do have the eaves come together there. There's no bay window in front. There's just a picture window. And if the eaves do connect and that roof line continues there, you wouldn't want a separate bay window with a separate roof on top. So I think all of these conditions kind of follow one another, and that's why if you just took one out, it wouldn't work. That makes sense. I know that came from thoughtful discussions between the neighborhood committee and the homeowner and the commissioners last month. Where's the other? Can you pull up the other conditions, please?
Yeah. The eave above the bay.
So yeah, conditions 2, 3, and 4 all kind of fold into each other. And I'm in agreement with staff that a bay window is inappropriate for this type of home.
I don't have too much problem with a small bay, except for you pointing out it doesn't, if you're going to connect it, how are you going to do it? If she's agreed to the other conditions, then she has to redesign it somehow because the bay doesn't work because of that, right?
Connect the eave above the bay.
I don't have a problem with the bay with her. As small as that was going to be. Like a bump out.
Yeah.
What you mean,
I would need to see it.
Redesign, you'd have to see what it looked like.
But I can't picture, what is the proper term for that? The returns.
Yeah.
The condition 2 and 3 are sort of inextricably linked, right? All right. So condition 2, replace the bay window on the left side with a regular window, same style. Okay. Condition 3, connect the eave above the bay to the rest of the front elevation. That one I have a little trouble understanding. Oh, that means the eave, meaning the small roof that's on top of the bay?
Connecting the two sides.
Oh.
Just cutting in and then that.
Has the, so that's, what we're looking at here is actually an exhibit from another, by coincidence, right? From another
Yeah. Previous home.
previous home. It's hard to explain. It's a compelling picture. Is it possible to pull that up? So the driveway, I think it will be very helpful. It's going to sound odd. Can you pull up the late exhibit to the circle driveway project? My colleague here just pushed this image across the desk, and it, by coincidence, it illustrates the architectural expression or manifestation of that condition number 3, and it's much easier to look at than it is to explain it in words.
Oh, it's right there.
Right there.
So if you can zoom in there.
So what about, is that it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's just it, a different angle.
So,
Return and connect all the way in the front, above a picture window,
right.
which is what is proposed, right?
Right.
And if I'm understanding correctly, that bay is there for the purpose of creating a built-in of sorts,
Window seat.
Window seat.
which
Could it-
essentially could be a thicker wall
Right.
of sorts.
So I agree, and I know the applicant's muted and they're not speaking right now because we're deliberating, but I do agree. I think we could have condition 2 and 3. In other words, a bay, boxed out sort of craftsman style bay could exist under that eave that's in the image right now. I know this is another house, but this is a mirror image of what the proposed house has going on. A lot of the same elements with the recessed porch. There's another important point that on the right side, the front door, it doesn't read in the elevation drawing, but that's a significant setback to proper front porch.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
I don't know how this works, but I would, to move this along and I think probably arrive at a solution that's more architecturally appropriate and to give the owner what they want would be, I'd like to ask the applicant what they think of that, but I'm prepared to offer a motion to how shall I say, include condition number 3 and allow the bay, that would strike condition number 2, in other words. I'll word it correctly at the proper time.
But to give it back to them so they can okay.
Yeah, well, I would like their feedback.
But in this drawing, that looks like, the little top of the bay looks like it's a lot deeper than a little place to sit, and the way that's built. So,
right.
So the line could go, that could go across.
Yeah. So that's probably a 16 or an 18-inch overhang, and at the actual bay structure, that overhang would drop down to 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
And
what you said.
yeah. We've done that before, right? Where we ask an applicant what they would think of an idea?
Yeah.
Sure, you can. And if the chair would like to open that back up.
Yes.
Okay.
Does he need to propose something?
No, I think he just wants to get some feedback from the applicant, so.
You open her back up?
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Henderson?
Yes, my architect was already working on what you all are saying. He just didn't get it ready in time. He's going to connect the eave, and he was going to leave the bay or leave the little bump out. He can do it, and I want everyone to know that the hardy siding is scalloped in the front, not just straight siding. It's scalloped hardy siding. That'll be the break. Like fishtail.
I got it. That's condition number 4.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm just explaining the whole idea so that you all can understand.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion? You good?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Right.
So I need a new motion.
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay.
I propose to approve case 2021-059 subject to the following conditions. Condition number 1 as written. Striking condition number 2. Condition number 3 as written. Condition number 4 as written. amended to say scalloped hardy siding. Condition number 5 as written, and condition number 6 as written.
Second.
All in favor? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Can I add a condition? I know we have a second.
Yeah.
You had a second. Oh, yeah.
Condition number 6 amended to state that the applicant will submit a drawing to staff.
Yeah.
So that for graphic confirmation of this.
Yeah, okay.
3 seconds.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, go.
Ms. Payne,
Approve.
Ms. Love,
Approve.
Mr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Doss,
Yes.
Ms. Cox,
Yeah.
Mr. Warren,
Yes.
Chair Tucker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay.
Our next and final case. COA 2021-060, 902 Meta Street, District. And we do have a speaker in opposition. So, we can go through the process.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could you state your name and address, please?
Dana Bottenfield, 902 Meta Street, Memphis, Tennessee, 38104.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. And the architect is also on the phone or at the meeting.
Okay. Are you going to speak or is he going to speak?
I believe my architect was going to speak, Brad Shapiro.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Shapiro, are you on?
Yes.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Brad Shapiro, 2455 Sanders Ridge Lane, Germantown.
And your zip?
38138.
Okay. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Have y'all had a chance to read the staff report?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Do you agree with the staff report and its conditions?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Does anybody, I know there's opposition, but does anybody want to see the staff report? Commissioners?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item before you is a request for exterior alterations to an existing home in Cooper Young Historic District. The property is on the east side of Meadow Street, block between Nelson Avenue and Oliver Avenue. This Google Street View shows the existing conditions of the property. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Sorry.
It's okay.
How do I do that? Oh, I'm signed out?
No pressure.
We'll take a brief moment for,
Well, she's usually perfect. So.
yeah, absolutely.
I need some technical assistance.
I kept looking back there and seeing me. I looked away.
I think I'm out. No, I'm in. Am I in?
Mute yourself.
It's here. Okay. This one?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. I'll start over.
Okay.
The request is for exterior alterations to an existing home in Cooper Young Historic District on Meadow Street, block between Nelson Avenue and Oliver Avenue. This Google Street View shows the existing conditions of the property. The applicant is proposing to renovate the porch columns, modify the existing 3 dormers on front, rear, and right side elevations, and add a new one on the left side elevation, replace existing French doors on the right side of the front elevation, which is not really visible on this visual, with new windows, and eliminate multiple windows on front and side elevation. The existing versus proposed west elevation shows the altered existing dormer right here to the left side. The added new dormer here towards the middle of the structure, and one window to be removed on the left side of the front facade and replace French doors, shown as the new 3 windows on the right side of the front facade. Proposed right elevation shows the altered dormers and the window openings and the existing chimneys to be removed from the structure. And here is the left elevation, which shows the altered dormers, the new dormer that is towards the front of the structure, and altered window openings. The staff believes overall design of the proposed renovations are partially compatible with the design guidelines. Proposed new dormer is located on the left side elevation towards the front of the structure, and it's visible from the street public right-of-way. However, we believe that the design scale and mass of the new dormer is appropriate based on the proposed alterations to the existing dormers and the mass of the structure. The applicant is also proposing to close several existing window openings, and we recommend that one window on the left elevation and the 2 windows on the, one window on the front elevation towards the left and 2 windows on the left elevation towards the front should be retained. And, oops. Okay. The staff recommends approval of the COA with 2 conditions as stated in the staff report, page 12. The first condition is to retain existing 1 window on the left side of the front elevation and 2 windows on the front section of left side elevation, and any change or deviation from the approved certificate of appropriateness shall be submitted to the Memphis Landmarks Commission for review and approval. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Question. I think I follow the condition number 1 to a point.
Okay.
First, it says the existing 1 window on the left side of the front elevation.
I'll try to explain while I'm actually showing you.
That would be great.
Elevation. So
yeah.
First, we would like to retain this existing window here.
Yes.
And the second portion is to retain these 2 windows on the left elevation, which is towards the front of the house. All of these windows are very visible from the street, and they're right next to the existing driveway. So that was our reasoning to retain them.
Any other questions for staff? Okay.
I have a question about the dormers.
Yeah.
The new dormer, how much, they both match in height and width, the 2 new dormers, I guess, on the front?
I'm not sure about the exact width of the front dormers, which is kind of visible here. But I believe the slope of the roof are going to match, and the height of the peak of those sloped roofs are also going to match.
And do you know, in comparison to the old dormer that it's replacing, how much bigger?
I'm not sure.
It looks like it's in the same spot, but it's hard to tell the scale.
Yeah, I believe the existing dormer is very small compared to the proposed altered ones, but it's not very uncommon for any other historic building in Kukoryang to have a little bit of larger dormers.
Other questions? Okay. The applicant has 5 minutes now. Is he or she mic'd up, unmuted?
Mr. Shapiro, are you on?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. We agree with the staff recommendations to add the windows as they've recommended. So there's no issue with that. We also have 3 letters of approval or letters of recommendation from neighbors. 2 of those are in the staff report. One of them was late giving to staff. It's not in the report, but it was received by staff. So we have 3 neighbors on the immediate street voicing approval for this proposed additions. Some of the other alterations, other than the dormers, you can see that it looks like the house had some old additions done to it over the years. The French doors that were added to the front at some period of time don't align with the existing columns. So there's an odd relationship to the columns to the openings on the porch. So we are realigning the columns and realigning the windows so they have a more orderly appearance, which would have been more indicative of the original architecture. As you can see in this elevation, the existing elevation on the left, upper left, the French doors are dashed in that we're removing and adding in the windows. We're centering the columns to make a more orderly appearance to the front facade. The dormers that are there, we're increasing the height a little bit, as staff mentioned. Still the roof line, the ridge line stays intact. We're not increasing the overall mass of the house at all. So we're keeping intact the ridge line and the strong horizontal lines of the porch. We're not altering the heights whatsoever with that.
Thank you. The commissioners have any questions of the speaker? Okay, I believe there's an opposition speaker.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have Miss Amanda Yarbrough-Dill.
Okay, Ms. Dill, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, would you state your name and address?
Yes, it's Amanda Yarbrough-Dill, 2298 Young Avenue.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
I'm speaking on behalf of our development committee for the Cooper Young Community Association. As our letter stated, we would fully support the application if the addition of the new dormer was removed from the plan. The proposed new dormer on the left side above the front facade is only 4 feet back from the front facade and thus does not adhere to 7.1 of our guidelines, which states habitable additions shall be located to the rear or side of existing residential structures so they do not disturb the principal facade. New additions to the front of existing residential structures are not compatible with the structures built during the period of significance and shall not be allowed. Habitable additions are defined in our guideline as the addition of heated, air-conditioned space to the existing structure, which would include new dormers. For this reason, we would ask that you set a condition that disallows the new dormer from the project. Thank you for your time, and that concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions of the presenter? Okay, thank you. The applicant has 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you. The proposed addition that she is objecting to really does not disturb the front facade. It is set back over 4 feet from when you consider the overhangs. So it's our opinion that it does not disturb the front facade, the existing front facade at all. In addition, I would like to again highlight the fact that we have 3 voiced opinions of approval in the neighborhood as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'll now close the public hearing portion of this. And the commissioners will further discuss it. May I have a motion in the positive?
I move to approve case 2021-060.
Second? I need a second from somebody else.
Second.
Okay.
I'll open with comment. I think that the design's quite sensibly done and subtle, but well composed. And I'm in favor of approval. With respect to the opposition speaker's concerns, I tend to agree with the design architect's interpretation of the guideline. There's a photograph on page 17 of our printed staff reports. It's sort of a diagonal view across the driveway to the house, and to me, it really illustrates how far back it's not even a new dormer, it's a modification to an existing dormer. It certainly is larger, I'll admit, the dormer is larger, but it's not really modifying the principal facade or the front of the building, and that's always a gray area, but I think we know it when something feels wrong. There's nothing about this proposal that feels wrong to me. I'm in favor.
I agree with you. Mr. Warren? Agree.
I think with looking at this plan, I mean, honestly, if you look at what's been going on in the interior space, that's working some magic with the space that it currently is enclosing. And to the point of that addition off on the side of the porch does already look like it's been retrofitted element that was closed-in porch at that time, and that's essentially what that dormer is going to be going above as well. Compositionally, it looks good. If it didn't, I think all of us probably would be up in arms saying absolutely not. So, but I think so far this looks pretty well in this neighborhood context.
I'll add that I appreciate the applicants agreeing to staff's conditions as well.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I just amend my motion to make clear that the approval is subject to 2 conditions as written here by staff.
Okay. Can I have a second? Call for vote.
My goodness. Ms. Love?
Approve.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Do you say anything about those two that are, they're on consent, and one is withdrawn?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, is there any new business?
No, there is not, except that it's good to see everyone here, and I know that some of you are just now meeting each other in person, so.
I have no idea what he looked like.
I know.
Or they look like, so now I know. These guys I know.
So.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
So welcome back, and we will look forward to next month, maybe a little bit more open.
Okay, the next meeting is Thursday, June 4th, 2021. Can I call for adjournment?
June 4th.
June 24th?
Okay.
Yeah, June 4th would be tough.
Thank you, staff.